Hello and thanks for joining us. There seems to be no end to the rising cases of rape in Nigeria, despite the widespread outcry over the nemesis. In fact, in recent time, no day passes in the country without a reported case of sexual violence, especially rape, in the media. More worrisome is the sexual violation of infants, both girls and boys, as well as old women around the country. Available data indicates that 1 in every 3 girls would have experienced at least one form of sexual abuse by the time they reach 25 years, and 3 in 10 Nigerians disclose that they know someone who has been sexually abused in the past, and that the victims were particularly minors or young adults. Besides, owing to inadequate access to basic needs, traditional protection structures or security fears at internally displaced persons camps, some women and girls have reportedly become vulnerable to sexual exploitation in the form of rape and survival sex. Now, the reports are usually as ugly and heartbreaking as they come, with the result of death of the victims or permanent or long-time psychological or emotional trauma on the victims. And most of the times, perpetrators of the dastardly acts in the country don't get to face the full wrath of the law, even as many say the sex offenders registers as technically deficient without a national database. The question now is, how much more should we do as a nation to check the rising cases of rape and sexual violations? Do stay with us tonight as we deal with that on Weekend File. We have detailed reports and guests we should know. My name is Kene Ima Abodike. The news first. Nigeria's fight against the COVID-19 pandemic has received a boost as the federal government has taken delivery of the first shipment of essential medical supplies worth €22 million towards containing the deadly virus. Betari then reports that members of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 received the shipment supplied through the United Nations One COVID-19 Basket Fund with a significant contribution from the European Union.
The Nigerian government and the United Nations launched the UN COVID-19 One Response Basket Fund on the 6th of April 2020. The fund serves as a financing and investment platform through which international donors as well as the private sector can channel donations to support multi-sectoral efforts of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. This synergy has come to fruition with the delivery of this first shipment of medical supplies containing 545 oxygen concentrators, more than 100,000 test kits, infrared digital thermometers, numerous personal protective equipment, laboratory commodities, and other emergency health kits to Nigeria.
To start supporting the effort of the government to find a solution to this pandemic. Nigeria has done it before. I always tell people, globally or internationally, and Nigeria was able to ward off Ebola. And I think Nigeria will also ward off this challenge at hand. But there is still a lot to be done.
Even if we are challenged ourselves, we must not leave Africa alone at this point in time.
Minister of Health Dr. Sagie Hanire, on behalf of the Nigerian government, appreciates the UN and the EU, saying the equipment will help protect frontline health workers and strengthen the national response to the pandemic.
We shall make the best use of them. We are very confident that we are standing better today in our fight against COVID-19.
NTA News gathered that the Basket Fund, managed by the UNDP, has so far mobilized $61.3 million, part of which is being used to procure more medical equipment for Nigeria. All over the world, no country has all the medical supplies required to combat coronavirus. That is why multilateral donations, such as these medical equipment and essential commodities, will go a long way to strengthen Nigeria's fight against the pandemic. From the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, Mitaire Ikwen, NTA News.
World Health Organization warns that the novel coronavirus pandemic has entered a new and dangerous phase as Brazil becomes the second country in the world to confirm more than 1 million cases of COVID-19. Adebola Bruce Sunday is here with global update on coronavirus. Brazil has become the second country in the world to confirm more than 1 million cases of COVID-19 as the disease continues to spread across the country. The health ministry says there were more than 1,200 deaths for 4th consecutive days, taking the total to nearly 49,000. And the World Health Organization has warned that the novel coronavirus pandemic has entered a new and dangerous phase.
But the virus is still spreading fast. It is still deadly, and most people are still susceptible. We call on all countries and all people to exercise extreme vigilance.
On the COVID-19 dashboard of Worldometer at about 7 p.m. local time, 8,827,261 persons have been infected with coronavirus globally. 464,081 deaths, 4,662,959 recoveries. Out of these figures, 287,385 infections, 7,708 deaths, and 132,959 recoveries confirmed on the African continent. Meanwhile, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, says the total number of confirmed cases in the country now stands at 19,147 after 111,052 samples were tested. 487 deaths were recorded and 6,581 people have recovered. The United Nations has applauded the federal government's commitments towards the protection of refugees in the country. This was emphasized at a media chat organized by the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development in partnership with the United Nations Refugee Agency to commemorate this year's World Refugee Day. Ruth Aguele reports.
Globally, the challenges of refugees remain predominant as they struggle for survival in the midst of conflicts that has given rise to their displacements. Attention to this group of people necessitated the World Refugee Day, observed every 20th of June, to raise awareness on their protection and inclusion.
Because it demonstrates our commitment.
Different partners at this gathering are lending their voices as a way to show commitment even as the world battles with a dire pandemic.
This year World Refugee Day was carefully crafted out as everyone can make a difference, every action counts. The government of Nigeria under President Muhammadu Buhari deployed an inclusive approach in carrying out humanitarian interventions. This is exemplified in the context-specific interventions carried out during the period of the COVID-19 pandemic, targeting the most vulnerable population, including the refugees and IDPs.
We make a strong statement today to say that we recognize you, we stand with you, and will continue to support you to a place of improved dignity and prosperity.
The recent world events have confirmed that we are one human community. Whether you're a refugee, an IDP, whether you are you or me, we all count and we all need each other.
And I'm giving a big thank you to our leaders, the Federal Ministry and the Commission of the Refugees.
The general interest is for more concerted efforts and determined actions for sustainable development and inclusive society for all. In Abuja, Ruth Aguele, NTA News.
Meanwhile, in a quest to relieve the hardships associated with troubles of COVID-19, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadiya Umar Farouk, has flagged off the sharing of palliatives to 1,200 vulnerable and less privileged across the 21 local government areas of Adamawa State. Abdullahi Ayuba reports that the gesture is aimed at cushioning the effects of the pandemic.
The lockdown of the states by the government to contain the spread of coronavirus has no doubt affected the economic development of the country and compelled many people into untold hardship. This necessitated the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian, Disaster Management and Social Development shared palliative to 1,200 vulnerable and less privileged persons across the 21 local government areas of Adamawa State.
I'm very happy, and this food will be used judicially to support my family.
They are saying thank you. They give.
I really appreciate it. Because this time around we are facing a high rate of food stuff in our market.
The State Operational Officer, National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons, Zainab Dahiru Sufyan, who represented the minister, says the gesture is part of the federal government effort to reduce the sufferings of the people, especially at this period of COVID-19 pandemic.
Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development is always ready to assist the beneficiaries to reduce the hardship of COVID-19 pandemic.
Items shared include bags of rice, beans, among others. The exercise was conducted strictly to social distancing order and other COVID-19 protocols. In Yola, Abdullahi Ayuba Dalwa, NTA News.
Still talking health, people of Sabon local government area of Sokoto State, especially those displaced by bandits, have continued to get succor as the Nigerian Air Force organized a 3-day medical outreach for them. Abdurrahman Usman Jibrila has more.
In recent times, many villages in Sabon Birni local government area were attacked by bandits. The banditry attacks had left a good number of families in misery. The victims of the banditry attacks were displaced and made vulnerable to a lot of health risks. This time around, the Nigerian Air Force is not in Sabon Birni to repel banditry attacks, but organize a free medical outreach to show love to the people of the area. Foodstuff, mosquito nets and blankets were also presented to the vulnerable families,
so that they will understand that the military is for them and we're here to support them in bringing sustainable peace in this area.
The people who are displaced from their place. So we will target those ones, and I can assure you we'll give them all health needs that they need, in addition to the food that we also brought given to us by the Chief of Air Staff.
The Sokoto State government described the medical outreach as timely and expressed its support to the program.
And definitely we have urged the community through the Sarkin Gobir and Sarkin Amma to mobilize more people to come to access care within these 3 days.
District Head of Sabon Birni, Isa Muhammad Bawa, and a cross-section of the benefiting communities were full of praises to the Nigerian Air Force for the free medical services, urging government to do more to secure the area. In Sokoto, Abdurrahman Usman Jibrila, NTA News.
Away from health, despite the challenges posed by the coronavirus pandemic, the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing is keeping to its 2020 budget focus of mopping up road projects that have attained at least 80% completion. One of such projects is the dualization of Section 1 of the Abuja-Abaji-Lokoja Road. Kelvin Ebunaye reports.
The Abuja-Obajana Road dualization was awarded in 2006. It picked up momentum in 2015 after the 84-kilometer Abuja-Abaji-Lokoja section was reviewed to cost about 29 billion naira. Now, the project has reached about 90% completion. Both lanes of the entire stretch of the project have been asphalted with drainage at certain points. The Minister of State, Works and Housing, Abubakar Aliyu, who inspected the project, said, but for the adjustment required to accommodate a service lane to Gwagwalada Park, as well as the proposed overhead bridge to serve as bypass from Gwagwalada to Kuje, the project would have been delivered in May this year.
The whole chain of command, we are here to interface with the contractor to see firsthand what is going on the project. So I believe after we leave here, we'll go back and sort this thing out. This project should be delivered very, very soon. It's only that stretch in Gwagwalada that is remaining. So once we do that, we now have small things to tidy up and we'll hand over the job.
The minister also pointed out to the contractors some areas that requires reinforcements, especially shoulder layers, to protect the road. In Abuja, Kelvin Ewonwaye, NTA News.
Now, the Nigerian Ports Authority NPA has commissioned 2 60-ton bollard pull tugboats in Lagos. The managing director, Hadiza Bala Usman, said the tugboats are part of efforts to boost marine operations and service delivery. Imolayo Tokade has details.
These 2 tugboats, MT Misawa and MT Ikorekiti, will join the other 4 fleets already acquired by the Nigerian Ports Authority in towage operations. On behalf of stakeholders, everybody, all of at a speed of 13.5 knots, the Diamonds 2810 model tugboats have the capability to maneuver large capacity vessels calling at the ports to berth and unberth. The tugboats, equipped to serve as firefighter machines, are giant strides in supporting the capacity of the Nigerian Ports Authority.
We have seen how towage is a critical part. We have recognized stakeholders' contributions and stakeholders' comment on the need for us to provide the necessary equipment required. So this is as a result of our extended consultation. We're deploying these tugboats to the eastern ports.
To the Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, the purchase of these machines further restates the determination of the federal government and the NPA to increase operational efficiency and boost revenue.
I particularly want to commend the NPA, that's the board and management of NPA, for delivering on this project 9 months ahead of schedule. This is the kind of efficiency that the division wants to entrench in the polity, and I am happy that we are making progress.
This is a good fit. It's very good for the port industry. It's good for the maritime industry.
The Nigerian Ports Authority, NPA, reassures vessel owners and other stakeholders of better service delivery, urging Nigerians to join the government in investing in the development of the sector. In Lagos, Imolayo Tokade, NTA News.
Let's go to security matters now, where the Air Task Force of Operation Lafia Dole has neutralized several Boko Haram terrorists and immobilized one of their gun trucks at Bula Korege, a terrorist logistics distribution center and meeting point on the fringes of the Sambisa Forest in Borno State. This feat was achieved through airstrikes executed on 17 June 2020 as part of missions being conducted under the subsidiary Operation Long Reach after a Nigerian Air Force intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance aircraft spotted a large number of Boko Haram fighters and a gun truck within the settlement. Consequently, the Air Task Force scrambled 8 fighter jets to attack the location. The Defense Headquarters urges the troops to intensify the air offensive against the terrorists and all other criminal elements in the country. The federal government is to provide needed facilities for the Defense Space Administration to operate optimally in view of the emerging cybersecurity threats. The Minister of Defense, Bashir Magashi, said this while inaugurating projects at the Defense Space Administration Complex in Abuja. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa has details.
With this, the Defense Space Administration can now boast of a befitting clinic and other projects that will support the operations of the agency, a critical fourth domain of warfare.
Based on budget releases, we are able to begin to gradually build up infrastructures to effectively carry out our duties and our mandates. Infrastructure that was built was a Cyber Operations Center.
Developing the Space Administration, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Defense, says will enhance the activities of the military in different internal security operations.
The acquisition of space science and technology assets
as well as knowledge has become imperative for any efficient armed forces desirous of a highly competitive age.
The Defense Administration was established in 2014 to implement the defense and security aspects of the national space policy and ensure safety of the cyberspace through cyber security operations. In Abuja, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
Sky watchers along a narrow band from West Africa to the Arabian Peninsula, India and southern China will witness the most dramatic ring of fire solar eclipse to shadow the earth in years on Sunday. Justin Bem-Unyi gives a highlight of what should be expected.
Annular eclipse occur when the moon passing between the earth and the sun is not quite close enough to planet Earth to completely obscure sunlight, leaving a thin ring of the solar disk visible. They occur every year or two and can only be seen from a narrow pathway across the planet. Scientists reveal that remarkably, the eclipse on Sunday will arrive on the northern hemisphere's longest day of the year, that is the summer solstice, when Earth's north pole is tilted most directly towards the sun. The ring of fire will first be seen in northeastern Republic of Congo at 5:56 a.m. local time, just a few minutes after sunrise. This is the point of maximum duration, with the blackout lasting 1 minute and 22 seconds. More spectacular but less long-lived, the exact alignment of the Earth, Moon and Sun will be visible for only 38 seconds. The ring of fire, which is the annular phase of this solar eclipse, experts say will only be observed in Lagos, Nigeria, as a partial solar eclipse. People hundreds of kilometers on either side of the center line across 14 countries will also see light drain from the day, but not the ring of fire. There will be a second solar eclipse in 2020 on December 14 over South America. Because the moon will be a bit closer to Earth, it will block the sun's light entirely. Even if the day has darkened, looking at a solar eclipse with the naked eye is dangerous. Scientists have warned that sunglasses which don't filter out UV rays do not offer any protection. Justin Bem-Unyi, NTA News.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, says it is committed to boosting the nation's hydrocarbon reserves through intense search for oil and gas deposits in areas with high prospect, such as Wase and Ekanam, local government areas of Plateau State. Wase and Ekanam, which are parts of the upper and middle Benue, are reported to have oil and gas prospects capable of contributing to the economic growth of the nation. Leading a delegation from the NNPC on a visit to Governor Simon Bakola Long in Jos, Plateau State, the Group General Manager, Frontiers Exploration Services, Abdullahi Bomai, said the NNPC had acquired and used modern equipment which have resulted to the identification of hydrocarbon materials in the upper and middle Benue through. The Plateau State Deputy Governor, Professor Sonny Tionden, who stood in for Governor Lalong, commended the NNPC for its efforts, noting that under the leadership of Melekiari, the organization had done exceedingly well in identifying and unraveling geological deposits in upper and middle Benue through. It would be recalled that the NNPC had identified additional oil and gas provings known as the Coal Mali discovery, in addition to those of the Niger Delta region. We now go to politics, where executive of All Progressives Congress in Ward 10, Etsako West local government area of Edo State, has lifted the suspension of Adams Oshiomhole. This was disclosed at the NNPC National Secretariat in Abuja when 17 out of the 27 members of the party's executive met with the National Working Committee. Sule Emwakame, Secretary of APC in Ward 10 at Sako West Local Government, who led the delegation, said the decision to lift the suspension on Adams Oshiomhole was taken at a meeting held on the 4th June 2020 at ward level. National Vice Chairman South-South of APC, Hilad Etar, on behalf of the National Working Committee, welcomed the decision, describing it as timely.
Plans lead to the suspension of Comrade Adas Oshomole. We hereby lift the suspension process on Comrade Adas Aliyu Oshomole by the word. We call all organs of our great party to restore all rights and privilege.
I'm also in receipt of the acceptance and ratification of that resolution by the Esako West local government area. I'm also in receipt of further ratification by the State Executive Committee of the All Progressives Congress in Edo State.
In the meantime, the People's Democratic Party Primary Election Screening Committee for the September governorship election in Edo State has screened Governor Godwin Obaseki. Timothy Yusuf reports that the governor is visiting the PDP National Secretariat for the first time after his defection to the party.
Governor Godwin Obaseki appeared before the Kingsley Chinda-led Primary Election Screening Committee, which had already screened 3 aspirants before now. The committee assured that the principle of fairness remains its watchword.
We want to assure you that the committee will be fair, transparent, and will do justice to whatever that comes before us, regardless of your background.
Governor Obaseki, after his appearance before the screening committee, explained that he presented all his academic credentials to the committee in order to ensure that there are no inconsistencies in his presentation.
So I'm speaking with all the aspirants. My goal of, my hope and purpose for the PDP is to have a united and very strong party.
4 aspirants have so far been screened for the September 2020 governorship election in Edo State on the platform of the People's Democratic Party, PDP. In Abuja, Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
Sexual predators on rampage, leaving their prey with tales of woe, mostly children. That is the focus of Weekend File tonight when we return.
I wish to once again commend the frontline workers across the country who, on a daily basis, risk everything to ensure we win this fight. For those who got infected in the line of duty, rest assured that government will do all it takes to support you and your families during this exceedingly difficult period. I will also take this opportunity to assure you all that your safety, well-being, and welfare remains paramount to our government. I am using this opportunity to express our deepest condolences to the families of all Nigerians that have lost their loved ones as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is our collective loss, and we share your grief.
Found that civil authority has been leveled. The local government is either completely absent or very weak.
Beyond words, Governor Babagana Umar Zulum has in 1 year undertook 53 groups of projects, 11 of which were started from scratch, while 42 were reconstructed after insurgent attacks. The list includes 5 council secretariats, 3 local education authority offices, 15 government lodges, 4 police stations and barrack, 8 judicial courts, 14 palaces of resident traditional rulers, and 70 market stalls. Aside projects, Zulum visits councils unannounced to ensure officials and traditional rulers remain in their domains to feel and address the needs of their people.
Wetin be this coronavirus thing? Na true?
You see this coronavirus will be COVID-19. Now the whole world palava. And it don't they kill many people for China, Italy, UK, US, Spain, and even for other countries them.
Okay, wetin come be the reason why they say make everybody tanda for house?
Now because if they waka pium go carry them from person we don't get them, you go carry come give your family them. Now so the thing take they kill other people for other country.
Okay, wetin come be that social distancing self?
You see social distance. Now make we no come close because this thing now from air and touch now with the contact them. We suppose they at least 6 foot away from each other every time.
So okay, no be only to wash your hand and to sanitize them alone.
Make we not take this washing of hand thing take play, but make we come together, join hand as we take pursue Ebola, pursue this coronavirus. Make we be each other be keepers now.
As a strong immune system increases the chances of victims surviving COVID-19, a corruption-free society creates opportunities for citizens to thrive and prosper. Build your immunity. Stop corruption now. Report all acts of corruption to ICPC on this toll-free number 0800 2255 4272. This message is brought to you by ICPC and NTA.
We have observed the lockdown. We have practiced the measures in order to curb the spread of the virus, but we can do better. The coronavirus spread is increasing daily, and only together can we cut down the numbers and defeat the spread of the virus. Remember, COVID-19 is not a death sentence, and a recovered patient cannot spread the disease. Do not stigmatize. Do not hesitate to report any case, or if you have come in contact with anybody that has been infected with COVID-19. If you have cough and fever, please stay at home and call your state hotline. Find state numbers at www.covid19.ncdc.gov.ng. Remember, it is for your own good and for the good of every Nigerian. Let us do better and defeat the virus. Together, we can do this. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Shegun. Alpha, say tomorrow still day on.
What's your tomorrow?
Community meeting now.
You know they hear Abi?
Na beggy. See, if we meet for my house, inside parlor, then go no.
This COVID-19 is not a child's play.
If we want to elect a new secretary, we fit
do one for WhatsApp or for Skype or even on Zoom. Or we just wait.
I will not negotiate
this social distancing. It is non-negotiable.
Not every infected person shows symptoms, but every infected person is contagious. Avoid large gatherings and self-isolate if you think you might have come in contact with a carrier. Your safety and the safety of others is in your hands.
This message is from the Akinfade Foundation in partnership with the National Orientation Agency with support from MacArthur Foundation.
Welcome back to Weekend File. The need to adopt more decisive legislative action and more diligently enforce extant laws against sex offenders now dominates public and private discussions. Edo State, in particular, is advocating proper domestication of its violence against persons prohibition VAP law being a standout state in the country with spectacular experiences of rape and death. Annually, Okolo reports on the situation and decisive steps to stop the horror in the state.
On Sunday, May 31st, the media went agog with a tragic story of Waila Omozua, a student of the University of Benin. She had been raped and injured on Wednesday, 27th of May, and eventually died 3 days later. With this inhumane act still fresh on the table, another rape case emerged in Edo State, this time a pregnant woman. Queen Ibinewo, she was raped at her residence and found dead by neighbors who contacted the police.
The rapist is motivated by belief that he can get away with it.
Come out and let the whole world know what happened to you, so that way people can come out to help you, the government can help you.
There should no settlement of rape cases, so that at any point in time, anyone that rapes or defiles or assaults someone else will go in for it.
It's a special court that we handle rape-related incidents, so that justice can be meted out to these victims.
Cases that have to do with rape should be expedited.
Edo State should also, move fast and ensure that we also have the sexual offenders register domiciled in the state.
Edo State Governor signed the Violence Against Persons 2015 Act into law in February 2019, and the state has also had a child rights law domesticated in 2007. The effect of these laws has been mild and limited.
We'll make people aware that certain types of behavior are totally inappropriate. We have response centers that in a week or two will shortly be in place. One should have been in place if not for the COVID pandemic. At the centers, the services will be totally free, and this includes the different tests that are necessary to nail the perpetrators.
Speaker of the State House of Assembly says the state is considering applying stiffer punishments. In Benin, Anwule Okolo, NTA News.
One of the trending rape topics in Kaduna State is that of a man that raped to death a 3-year-old daughter of his neighbor. The tragedy of rape in the state, as in other neighboring states in the northwest, is assuming the status of silent pandemic, posing pervasive threats to the cherished social and spiritual norms of the communities. Our correspondent, May Jama'a Adamu in Kaduna, chronicles a situation report on this social disaster.
Lingering in the court is the case of alleged defilement of two sisters, Hawa and Rukaya, whose mother is accusing their biological father of raping them repeatedly. While these sisters are alive and growing up to the horrific tale of incest hovering over their destiny, 3-year-old Fatima Zakaria of Sabongari Ward in Zaria suffered a more gruesome act of inhumanity in 2015. She was raped to death by her father's neighbor, Usman Shehu Bashir. Her body was discovered in the room of the rapist, who confessed to perpetrating the act and was sentenced to death by hanging by Justice Kabir Dodo of the State High Court 5 years after committing the crime.
Suna zo na gaya musu na ce to yarinyar da ake nema gashi nan tana ɗakin shehu ya riga kashe ta. Sun zo da suka gani da za su ɗauka na ce kar a taɓa. Tsakani da Allah wannan cin amana ta yi min yawa ba zan iya haƙuri ba.
Zainab Atoba, chairperson Federation of Women Lawyers Kaduna State Chapter, is still worried that it took 5 years to convict a criminal that confessed to his crime.
It is very, very sad that it is only after 5 good years.
Her worry is not unconnected with her vast experience of two numerous cases of rape and defilement in Kaduna State, including an elderly blind man dragged to court for raping a deaf and dumb underage girl.
So many. In Zaria, I have an 11-year-old girl who was gang raped by 11 guys under this COVID-19 lockdown. I have another 4-year-old who was gang raped by 4 guys in the same Zaria. I also have another 12-year-old who was just raped. There's another 18-year-old that is gang raped by 5 guys in Narai in Kaduna here.
And in neighboring Jigawa State, both government and parents are finding it difficult to overcome the shock brought about by the rising cases of rape in the state, with the recent case of 12-year-old minor abused by 12 persons. Abdullah Gabo Binukudu reports that rape constitutes more than 60% of cases before the state judiciary, which are attributed to lack of parental care to the younger girls, idleness on the part of perpetrators of the act, and compromise on the part of victims by not reporting cases to police, among other factors.
I think the solution should be hanging, or they should cut the instrument used for the rape.
The clarion calls to action are now numerous, louder and assertive, demanding more definitive, decisive measures that scare sex predators away from their criminal urge. In Kaduna, Maijama Adamu, NTA News.
Let's introduce our guest tonight on Weekend File, Professor Hawa Yusuf of the Department of Criminology and Gender Studies, Kaduna State University. Professor Yusuf, you're welcome to the program tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Let's begin tonight's discussion by asking you to respond to the widespread cases of sexual violence across Nigeria now, of course, dominating the media, involving all class of women and even children. One, as a woman, and secondly, as a mother, there is, of course, how do you feel about it?
The issue of sexual violence is not actually new. It has been in existence since time immemorial. But the upsurge this period is what is more annoying, and it is important for us to know that it is as a result of the break in the conspiracy of silence that has always been in existence, and this shaming, because since time immemorial, people believe that you should not report sexual violence. And for me, as a woman, sexual violence is not acceptable. It is becoming too much, and every woman, every man, every human out there must come out and say no to sexual violence. Because the tide of sexual violence has gone beyond rape of adult females. It has gone beyond rape or defilement of young females. It has also included our boy children. And as long as we keep quiet and continue to adhere strictly to this conspiracy of silence, we are in trouble. And I tell you, the criminal justice system is also not helping matters, because there are clauses in the criminal justice system that deprive people from coming out to say, I have been raped, my child has been raped. You see families, police officers telling you that these things should not be publicized. You find traditional leaders, you have religious leaders coming to say, don't say it. It is high time we start dealing with perpetrators, stigmatizing them. In fact, for me as a mother, my solution to this increase in sexual violence is death by hanging. People say they should castrate. People say you should cut off the instruments of sexual violence. And I used to say there should be outright killing. Whoever has defied an underage child or any woman without her consent should be sentenced to death.
Let's hold you there for a while. You spoke about criminal justice system. We'll get to that later. But what do you think is actually the cause of the increase? It's not as if we don't know that rape has been there in the past. But what is what do we attribute to this incessant increase in rape in our country right now? What is the problem?
The thing is, now a lot more people are talking about it. We are shouting about it. And as such, the reportage has increased. Now, the people know that they can report. In those days, people have been silenced. And I call it the conspiracy of silence. But I tell you, now because the reportage is becoming higher, people are becoming more and more aware that they can actually report and that they can get justice. That is why we are thinking that it has escalated. It has always been there, but because it was not being properly reported, we have not been able to know. But the rise is because, yes, awareness is being created by all persons. You have NGOs, you have community-based organizations, you have FIDA talking about it, you have the state governments in the various states talking about it, and of recent, we have the federal government also saying people should come out and report. So the high level of incidents that we are seeing has always been there, but was not properly reported. But now that it is being reported, yes, the numbers are increasing.
All right, Professor Hawa Yusuf, do tarry along a while. Let's go for a break now. When we return, we shall discuss more with you on this very particular issue, the increase of rape cases in our country. Stay with us on Weekend File.
Mama, Uncle Kim just called me. His wife just gave birth. Hey! If you not be God, though, now who go do am? Now who go do am? Hey, I thank God. Boy or girl?
I was too excited to ask. Let me get my phone and call him. Mama, it's Mama, what's wrong?
So, I no fit see my grandpikin now as dem do obodo oyibo.
Mama, I have a surprise that will cheer you up.
Introducing Sunday Data Plan. Enjoy Sunday browsing. 200 Naira gets you a whopping 1.25 gigabytes.
Glow Unlimited. Nigerians, let us take responsibility. Stay healthy, stay safe, and curb the spread of the virus. Take responsibility. The coronavirus spreads from one person to another. Let us avoid crowd gathering of any kind for any reason. Take responsibility. Avoid traveling from one state to another during these lockdown restrictions. Obey all the rules that are put in place. Take responsibility. Stop spreading fake news and unverified reports about the coronavirus. There is no known cure for COVID-19. Take responsibility. Observe all the measures that can help stop the spread of the virus. Together, we can do this, but only if we take responsibility. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
A united Nigeria,
strong in the fight
against COVID-19, to bring a voice of hope, to join hands to bring an end to this pandemic.
Kandi diko hafia si akwada agha n'otu aka ahụ ka ndị nwere ikike ịhụ maka ahụike si dịkwa nkwadebe maka ọgụ a.
Ní ayé àtijọ́, a farapamọ́ lábẹ́ àpáta Olúmọ, a sì borí ogun náà. Àkókò tó láti farapamọ́ sínú ilé.
Mu ci gaba da kaɗaita juna, kuma mu kiyaye wuraren da akwai cunkoson mutane.
Mukumulo pipa prizinko lokaci de.
Womere ya mevokja wokora bowe kokekokyo, woje seriji sanitizer wokora bowe.
Fulbe ballen ko emeden kauten jutne kaben dun nyaw coronavirus. Daroden e wuro ballen gomnati ballen ko emeden dun nyaw dun waray dun dillay.
One Nigeria, different languages, and we shall surely prevail.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, Nigerian Film Corporation, powering possibilities in partnership with Nigerian Television Authority. You can't beat the rich.
Thank you for staying with us. Lack of DNA laboratories for forensic evidence of rape, as well as the fear of stigmatization, which has led to a culture of silence amongst victims and survivors, have been identified as some factors affecting the management of cases and conviction of rape offenders in Enugu State. Chine Nyemwoye brings us that report.
The increasing incidences of rape in the country has taken a threatening dimension, especially within this period of COVID-19 pandemic. Recently, in a meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari, the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, noted that the police recorded about 717 rape cases in the country between January and May this year. In Enugu State, over 23 rape cases, which has to do more with incest and pedophiles, were handled.
Note that programs aimed at engaging boys and men
to understand that violence is not a way of interaction.
Lack of DNA laboratory in many police stations to aid in forensic evidence, as well as sexual assault referral centers, are some factors affecting the management of rape cases, among others.
The problem is also actually in the willingness of law enforcement officers to settle rape and other sexual violence cases out of court.
While appreciating President Muhammadu Buhari for declaring a state of emergency on rape, human rights activists advocate that states who have not should domesticate the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Bill passed by the federal government.
Against persons law that is applicable in Enugu State, which some states have also enacted. With that, they have provided a unique provision, which is called minimum sentencing. And minimum sentencing, if a person is under 14, then you can do 4. But if it's a gang rape, 20 years.
Commitment of parents in the training of the children, especially the girl child, to be more assertive, experts say, is also one way to curb the rising cases of rape. In Enugu, Chinenye Nwoye, NTN News.
You're watching Weekend File on the NTA Network Service. Professor Hawa Yusuf is still with us on the program tonight. Professor, we have this belief that societal reorientation as well as religion can play major roles in this fight against rape and sexual violations. How do you react to that?
I tell you, Kene, it is very important for us to know that, yes, there is a need for reorientation, both in the society that is based on our culture as well as religion, because a lot of people are afraid of stigmatization. And as such, they kind of try to create this conspiracy of silence. If people begin to get aware that they can get justice, if people begin to know that there are certain things that they can do to stop this continuous pandemic, I call it a pandemic, then we will be able to overcome this. Religion. It's so sad that you find a lot of religious leaders trying to opt for out-of-court settlement for cases of rape or even pedophiling, because you find a lot of young children, and when I say young children, not just the girl child, but also the boy child, being defiled on a daily basis. And what you get are religious leaders coming to say, this is not good, if you put it out, especially a particular religion, if it is more prevalent in a particular religion, you want them to say that it's our religion that is perpetrating it. If it is more in the other one. So there is the need for a reorientation, a complete reorientation. It is not, it affects one's life, but it is not a death sentence. We have seen rape victims that have been able to rise above it, going through the correct counseling, and they have made it big in life. It's not a death sentence. However, the perpetrator also needs to be dealt with. Not until we remove sentimental attachments to perpetrators. Because you find people saying, he's the son of my next door neighbor, he's a relation, he's an uncle, he's a cousin, and then you try to cover this up at home. And in most cases, these perpetrators go on and on and on again. You find these perpetrators not just continuing to defile the same child, but even expanding it to other persons. It is very important for us to change our orientation, change our thinking, discuss sex with your children. It is very important. As you are refusing to discuss it, they can find it on social media, they discuss it among their friends. You need to teach your children how to be able to fight rape. It is very important for rape. It is very to tell their parents that somebody is touching me inappropriately. There is also the need for mothers to begin to talk to their children, to always report any inappropriate gestures from the opposite sex or even same sex.
All right, Professor Hawa Yusuf, thanks for your time tonight on the Weekend File. We'll be talking with Professor Hawa Yusuf of the Department of Criminology and Gender Studies, Kaduna State University and we'll be talking about the increasing cases of rape in our country, Nigeria. Let's quickly bring you sports now.
All-time African Women Cup of Nations winner, Super Falcons center back Ale Osinachi, has announced a departure from Real Madrid's own team club, Deportivo Tacón. The football star